Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Eric Laskin, and I am the Director of Financial Aid. I'm joined by Becky McFarland, the Associate Director of Undergraduate Financial Aid, and Justin Shreveport, the Dean of Admission. As Adriana mentioned, we have admission officers and financial aid officers in the background that will be helping out with the Q&A when we get to that portion. And I do believe we'll get to most of your questions throughout the presentation, but definitely if you don't hear your question, please submit that in the Q&A box. All right, let's get started.
All right. So, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whichever you are, wherever you are. The Office of Financial Aid is part of our student financial services here at Emerson College. We believe in a student-centered approach, focusing not only on the college as a whole, but that individual situation. As part of student financial services, you will find two sides of the office. You'll find the Office of Financial Aid with Eric and myself, as well as the Office of Student Accounts. The my goodness, sorry. The sessions that we're going to be talking about tonight include merit scholarships. So, what you're receiving from admissions, financial aid, how to do it, what is it, what does it entail? Is it what I've heard it is? We're going to learn about comparing financial aid packages. How do you know just where is the right place for you or your student? We're going to look at costs and billing. So, what does it actually cost? And how will this all work? Also, we'll talk about different financing options. It isn't just one way or the highway. There's multiple different ways that we're going to be able to help you and your student find their way to go to school successfully and financially. Not lastly, but we will look at some federal student aid updates that I'm sure everyone's been hearing and discussing and seeing everywhere. So we'll do a quick take on that. And then we'll end the night with some Q&A. So any questions that you may have, like Adriana said, pop them in the Q&A, hold on to them. We have seen some already submitted, so we will get to your questions. Don't worry about that.
All right, so merit scholarships. These are awarded by the Office of Undergraduate Admission through a holistic review of the application during the admission process. You are here tonight, your student has been admitted. They would have heard about merit decisions with that acceptance. So merit scholarships are nominated by the admission committee. These are annual merit awards for the length of the student's undergraduate time here at Emerson. Um, One of the few scholarships that does have a separate application and that deadline has passed is the honors program. The honors program does come with a trustee scholarship and again, additional requirements academically to remain in that program. These scholarships, as I mentioned, are renewable as long as the student meets academic requirements. So please take a look at those scholarship letters, take a look at what it entails, and that should answer most of your questions about holding on to those scholarships. Financial aid programs. So you may see part of your financial aid package includes a number of these items. The Emerson grant. This is a need-based grant. Because it is financial need-based, we do require a FAFSA form. The federal Pell Grant, a federal grant, again requires the FAFSA form. The SEOG grant, Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, SEOG. This again is another federal grant and requires the FAFSA. The state grant, if you're in Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Vermont, or Washington, D.C., there may be state funds available to you based on financial need. Generally, these all require a FAFSA form, and each state does have its own deadline, which you can find on the FAFSA website. If you have any questions, you can contact your state's higher ed authority for more information about their financial aid process. The federal direct loans, there's the subsidized and the unsubsidized loans. Two federal loans, they must be repaid. What is the difference between the two? Subsidized means the interest is not accruing while a student is in school or on their grace period. So they generally have a 6-month grace period from the time they're no longer enrolled. before they go into repayment and the interest begins accruing. On the unsubsidized loan, the interest is accruing while the student is in school. But on both of these loans, no payment is required again until after that grace period ends. The interest rate that you see on the screen right now is the current academic year. This is going only through July 1st. We do not know what next year's interest rates will be. We will find that out at some point late spring, early summer, and that is determined by Congress. So who knows when that will be? Again, a reminder, grants are funds that do not need to be paid back. Loans are loans. They do need to be paid back, and most of them will have interest included.
Like I said in the session topics, there's more than just federal financial aid that we can use to help your student pay for college. One of the big ways, and one way I always recommend, is looking at private scholarships. These are scholarships that you can apply for at any time of the year. And there's a ton of different places that you can go to find them. You can go to your high school guidance counselor, your local library, local organizations such as Kiwanis or Rotary, anything like that. Your employers, if your parents have the ability to do an employer reimbursement for you to go to college, there's no harm in asking. Your religious community, some communities may allow scholarships that they'll do. State higher education authorities, like Eric said, we have Mass, Pennsylvania, um, DC, but check with your state. There might be something through the state that you can get. We also recommend the college websites. Our personal Emerson College private scholarships are updated more than once a year. We try to add as many good scholarships as we can find in there, some that are related to what you're going to school for, some that are just general scholarships. We also recommend scholarship search sites such as FastWeb. FastWeb is a great site. The one big thing I will caution though with scholarship sites like this is if you have to pay, do not do it. Scholarship applications should be free. And I also want to say that in addition to applying to these scholarships, you want to take a look to see everything that's available to you. Keep your scope open. Don't just go for what is related to your degree. Open your frame bigger than that. You can also look at national scholarships, such as the National Merit Scholarship, Coca-Cola Scholars, the Gates Scholarship. Keep applying for these. And then also, if you look on the portal, you'll see iGrad on there for your students to look at. And that also has a ton of scholarships that are added daily. So you can always look there. Now, when it comes to scholarships, I hinted at this at the beginning, but apply. Apply if you think you qualify. Apply if you don't think you qualify. Keep applying. Also, it doesn't matter when you do it. We're going to tell students, whether it's in the fall, in the spring, in the summer, apply for scholarships. Some may have deadlines, so you want to be cautious of those deadlines, but no one's going to stop you from applying for a private scholarship. So keep pushing for those and see what you get. Also, some scholarships will ask you to write essays, do videos, do them. The more work that's involved usually means there's less people that are applying. So do the work. Sit down, take time, take a look at it, do what you can, get that free money. And then they keep popping up. Scholarships are always popping up. You might not see anything today, but tomorrow there could be 5 scholarships. So just keep hitting that refresh and take a look at what's around.
All right. Thank you, Becky. Just to add to this, if you use any of those scholarship search sites, create a separate email address. You're going to get flooded with emails. They're great resources. absolutely apply. You can create a profile, so it really narrows down some of the scholarships for you. But you do want to create a separate email account for that. This way, in 4 or 5 years, you can just close that down and not worry about it, not have to worry about unsubscribing to all those things. But definitely apply, apply, apply. And also, there's a big misconception about private scholarships where I can only apply going from high school to college. That's it, that first year. That may be true for your local scholarships from your high school or your library, but you can absolutely apply to many of these that you see online at any point. As Becky mentioned, the deadlines may pass, but each year a lot of them come back. So just make note, you can revisit it the following year if you miss it, but definitely keep checking back often for new scholarship opportunities. Work opportunities. I already saw some of these questions coming in the Q&A. If you see federal work study as part of your financial aid package, this allows you the ability to apply for jobs both on campus and with our off-campus community service organizations, our nonprofit partners. If you do not see federal work study as part of your financial aid package, you can still apply for jobs and work on campus through what's called Emerson Employment. It's practically the same job opportunities, again, with the exception of those off-campus nonprofits. With both of these programs, the earnings do not come off of the billing statement. They are paid directly to the student for the hours worked. We encourage students to set up direct deposits so they don't have to worry about paychecks and going to the bank and all that stuff. It can go right into their account. There are generally approximately, there have been in recent years up to 1,500 positions available. It's closer to probably about 1,200 this year, but it can be up to 1,500 at times, depending on the needs of the departments. We we try to make our best. There's no guarantee for jobs. I know we get that question a lot. Students do have to apply, just like they would any other job. They'll go through the interview process and so on.
Sorry, couldn't find my unmute button. Cost of attendance. So this is probably, I will agree with, one of the scarier parts of learning about financial aid. What is this cost of attendance? You hear about it all over the news. You hear about it from your friends chatting about it, and it's that big money sign that you're always looking at. So what is the cost of attendance? The cost of attendance is a survey of all costs associated with being a student. So there's multiple different pieces to the cost of attendance. The cost of attendance combines both direct costs, i.e. tuitions, housing, and indirect costs, such as books, transportation, clothing, things that aren't going to actually appear on your student's bill. The cost of attendance also represents the maximum amount of financial aid that can be received from all sources, including loans. All right, so let's look at breaking down the cost of attendance versus direct costs. So what is a direct cost? Like I said, a direct cost is something that you're being billed for. So that would include tuition, mandatory student fees, food and housing, which at Emerson does include the meal plan. Some schools may list these separately, but here at Emerson, we list them with the food and housing. Health insurance. In the state of Massachusetts, students are required to have health insurance. Does this mean you have to use our health insurance? No. If you have a comparable health insurance, you can waive it, and there will be a process explained as we get further into the year on how to waive that. Next, you have your indirect costs, which are going to be the other pieces of the cost of attendance. So these will be your books, your supplies, your personal expenses, and transportation. Transportation for Emerson does vary whether you're a Massachusetts resident versus out of state. So just keep that in mind. So see, there's the two different direct costs versus your indirect costs. And when we put those together, we have your cost of attendance. Now, Eric, is this? No, this is still me. When comparing your schools that your student wants to go to, you really need to look at this cost of attendance. You need to compare the two. What are the direct costs? What are the indirect costs? You really want to take a look at those direct costs between the schools and determine is can you afford those direct costs? You need to determine what aid funds you have. Are they grants and scholarships, which are considered gift aid? Are there loans that you're taking out? Or is there some self-help such as federal work study? When you start to break those down, you start to understand the cost of attendance more.
All right, let's take a look at two different schools. These are sample packages. So they both have a direct cost of $80,000. The grants received at both schools is $30,000. You did a FAFSA and you sent it to both schools. So they're both saying you can get a subsidized loan for $3,500 and an unsubsidized loan for $2,000. So this brings the cost down to school one of $44,500. Now, school two has also included a Parent Plus loan in the amount of $20,000, bringing their cost down to $24,500. Are these the same or are these different? These are actually the same financial aid package. School two included a Parent Plus loan to show you an option of what might be available to you, but the parent would still need to apply and be approved for that loan. School one can do the exact same thing, but you still have to apply and let them know that's what you're going to be doing. So at the end of the day, these financial aid packages are actually the same. So keep that in mind when comparing. So estimating the balance due in the bill. Take your direct costs, as Becky mentioned, the tuition, the food and housing, the fees, those things that are going to see on your bill. Take out the grants, the scholarships, and any loans you plan on accepting. And this is what you can expect for your balance due. Now, when you're taking this total cost, keep in mind Emerson College will bill you for the fall semester in the summer, and then towards the end of the fall, we will bill you for the spring semester. So two separate semester bills. This is not all at once. So the next slide is a sample financial aid package. I'm going to preface this now. This is very much a sample to show you the components that you could see and should see on your financial aid package. You may see some funds on this that you don't necessarily have, you don't qualify for, you aren't eligible for. But again, you should see the general component sections in your financial aid package. So you should see a grants and scholarships section breaking down each of the funds, fall and spring, and the annual amount. And then you'll see the total gift aid under that section. Then you'll see your loan section. It'll tell you if you're eligible for subsidized and or unsubsidized loans. And then it'll give you the breakdown of the total loan amount. Then your federal work study amount under that, that's help aid, that again, the student will have to work to earn. Below that, I just put them side by side to make it a little easier to read. But below that, you'll also see the estimated direct costs. These are estimates at this moment. It'll go over tuition, fees, food and housing, and health insurance. If you have comparable health insurance coverage, you will be able to waive the health insurance. We will send out more information from our Office of Student Accounts. As it gets closer to billing season, we'll send you that more information to how to submit that waiver. Under direct costs, you'll see indirect costs. This includes your individual travel, books and supplies, miscellaneous, federal direct loans, because the direct loans were offered to you and they do have what's called an origination fee. So we include that in the cost of attendance as well. Again, these are things that will not be on your billing statement, but the student may incur along the way as just being a student. You'll see below that, again, the total estimated direct costs, the total estimated indirect costs, and overall, the estimated cost of attendance. If you haven't heard me say the word enough, these are estimates that you're seeing on your financial aid package right now. As soon as we have the official information, we will send out a notification to students letting them know when everything is finalized and official. You'll also see other helpful information on your financial aid package about next steps, other things that you could be doing, and all that. So please read the full financial aid package letter. It has lots of helpful information and tips. Alternative financing options. So we have our bill, we have our general cost, we have our financial aid package. Now what? Well, Emerson does have a 5-month payment plan per semester. It's divided evenly amongst the 5 months. There's no interest on these. They do have a $50 enrollment fee per payment plan. So if you do one in the fall, one in the spring, those are two separate payment plans. There's no credit check required on these. Unlike a loan, no credit check required. For the fall semester, your first payment would be due in July. And for the spring semester, your first payment would be due in December. The Parent Plus loan is another option. This is a federally backed loan. The Parent Plus loan interest rate that you see on the screen, just like earlier, is for this current academic year. Again, we'll find out closer to the summer what next year's rate will be, and we'll have that published on our website. The Department of Education will also have that published on their site as well. Just like the other loans, there is an origination fee that comes out before the loan is dispersed to the schools. A Parent Plus loan does require a credit check. If a parent is denied, there are some options. They can seek a co-borrower or an endorser on the loan. They can appeal the credit decision. They could also accept the credit decision, and then the student would be eligible for additional unsubsidized loan funds. So those are some things to keep in mind. If you are denied, you would just need to let our office know exactly which option you want, especially if you do want the extra unsubsidized loan and will not be pursuing the other options. Additional options, private or alternative education loans. If this is a route that you're going, the first stop that we suggest you go to is Elm Select. This is an online comparison tool. We have done a lot of vetting of lenders out there to see which have lower interest rates, which ones our students and our families are satisfied with their customer service, and so on. So we do a lot of vetting and we put them up on this page, and you'll see many lenders and all of their loan products. And just like a shopping tool, you can go online and click on a couple and hit compare, and it's going to show you a comparison of the products and the lenders. You are not required to use any of these lenders or loan products. This is a great tool to help you when searching, even if you're going to go find one at a credit union that you use or another lender. Absolutely, that is fine. But this gives you an idea of what to look for. These are credit-based loans, so generally most students will not have established credit at this point and will require a co-borrower. It is up to the lender if they will allow the co-borrower to be removed from the loans, and that will be in the information they provide about their loan products. Okay, the next piece of this. We do not push families to any of these options. These are some options that families have selected along the way, their journey here at Emerson. If you're going to choose any of these options, we suggest that you talk to your family's personal financial planner. So that includes if you're going to use savings or borrow from savings, use a college savings plan, a Roth IRA, a home equity line of credit, retirement loans. These are all things that are very family specific, and you should talk to your family's financial planner when determining which options you're going to use. You can use a combination of anything mentioned here, anything not mentioned here. You let us know what you do in the fall does not mean you have to use the exact same thing in the spring. So you pick and choose. You can set up fall, you can set up spring, you can do them both at the same time. Just let us know and we'll absolutely work with you.
All right, so the fun page, federal student aid updates. First off, we do want to say if there are any changes to federal aid availability or regulations, we will notify families. If you hear any announcements in the news, know that we are actively reviewing the impact of these announcements, and we will reach out after we do our initial review. A lot of times we're getting the information as you are, and we want to be best prepared to answer any of your questions. Title IV of the Higher Education Act of 1965 authorized federal student financial aid programs. This was codified. Again, codified. So it's where it is. And this is Title 20, Chapter 28, the United States Code. The big one, expected impact of the one big beautiful bill, also known in our office as OB3. There are some changes that are coming that we know about. First of all, is that annual student loan limits will be prorated based on enrollment status. So this will change if you're full-time status, half-time status, and this is why we'll really need communication between the students and the families to know what the student's enrollment will be for each term. Parent plus loans. Starting this year, Parent Plus loan borrowing will be limited to $20,000 per year per student, per dependent student, and a $65,000 limited total per student. This is a big change. So we will definitely help talk through those issues as they arise. But like I said, any changes that are coming from the federal student aid, from the Department of Ed, we will let you know if there's any changes that could impact your family or your student.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. What do we do now? Submit any outstanding financial aid documents via the admission portal. Check back often to see if additional documents are being requested. As we receive reprocessed FAFSAs, updated FAFSAs, you may be selected to submit additional documentation, and we will add that to your checklist for you to see. Submit it as soon as possible. Understand your financial aid package. Remember to notice which award funds are grants, loans, or self-help aid like work study. Compare financial aid packages and the net costs. Again, we're looking at net cost here. Estimate the balance due for the year and the semester. So you can start with the semester or go for the full year. Use the direct costs. While you're going to see the full cost of attendance, take a look at your direct costs, things you're actually going to have to pay the school when doing that. This is a 4-year investment, so be sure to think about the longer term, including planning for annual tuition and fee, room, and meal plan increases. Remember, we are here to assist you for the entire length of your time here at Emerson. Ask questions, sign up for appointments, utilize our free financial wellness program, iGrad. I did see some questions about iGrad in the Q&A. Once your student deposits and receives an email address, they gain access to iGrad, and they can start using all those functions. All right, so the moment you've all been waiting for, let's get to some questions and answers.
Yes, thank you all for continuing to submit these questions as we go along. We've gotten to a lot of them behind the scenes, but we will definitely get to some more here as we go through. So if you have a question at this time, if you can do us a favor and just add it to the Q&A box and not the chat, it's a little harder for us to keep track of questions in the chat. So that would just help us out a lot. Let us start with hard to know what to start with. There's so many great questions. I'm just going to start right at the top. Can you talk about either Eric or Becky the some of the need-based options? So one person mentioned the Emerson Grant specifically, but some of those other options, are those renewable annually? And what do folks have to do if so?
Absolutely. Do your FAFSA every year, and we will determine your eligibility. We try to maintain level aid packages from year to year. So as long as your financial need stays about the same, you should expect to see the same financial aid package each year, including the Emerson Grant. As the student aid index goes up and the financial need goes down, there is a chance for the grant to go down or some other things to adjust. But generally, we will do our best to try to keep the financial aid package as level as possible from year to year.
Absolutely. A lot of folks asking, and we do have one more colleague who I believe might be ready to join us on screen, and hopefully I'm right while I say that out loud. So if Justin is able to join us, that would be great. But I'll start asking the question now because we can certainly start that answer. A lot of folks are asking, of course, about appealing. So there's a couple of different things to consider. Could you both talk specifically about if there's been a change in circumstances, what folks need to do to indicate that to us?
You want me to
Justin, you
start
want to
off it?
start? You
Yeah,
start.
I'll
You
start
start.
off, Eric.
I'll jump in.
So, good evening, everyone. Justin Shreveport, Dean of Admissions. Welcome. A very common question to Adriana's point. So, a couple of things. One, the easiest and fastest way to do this is if you have received a financial aid package, and Eric mentioned this earlier, make sure you're reviewing that in your admission portal. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, we started posting them yesterday and today. So the idea being that make sure you're going through all of that just so you go kind of interlock all the information that you received tonight with what is on that financial aid package as well. So that's really your first step. Um, the next part is if you've had a change in circumstances, the fastest and easiest thing you can do is go back into your admission portal and there's a button that says submit an aid appeal. It's got a little pencil mark above it, and the idea being that is how you initiate a financial aid appeal. Um, we don't have, like some other schools, where you have to contact either the financial aid office or the admission office. It's all in one committee process where we compare notes and we work together to do the best that we can for each individual family. So the best way to do it is to start in that admission portal if you've had a financial aid package and click on that submit an aid appeal. It's a form. It walks you through all the required things that we may need. And Eric, you can talk a little bit more about that in a second about what may be required as part of this. But very common, uh, the FAFSA operates under what's called a prior system. It's for students starting in 2026. It would be based off of the 2024 tax year. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of changes potentially in some families over the past, call it 15 to 18 months or however long it's been, depending on when you get your financial aid package. And we understand that. And what the financial aid office does is once we've accumulated that information, we may need some additional documentation from you. So the first step, re-review your financial aid package. Step two, go into that submit an aid appeal. Commonly, things are loss of income. Your parents may have a change in marital status since filing the FAFSA. There's a lot of other special and unusual circumstances as well. The second piece of this is what we would consider more of a merit scholarship appeal. And that is specifically students who have not received a financial aid package, whether they are an international student, whether they have not filed a FAFSA. If you are a student who is eligible to do the FAFSA, I would still encourage you to do it. The reason is you may qualify for aid that you don't even realize, and you should always do the FAFSA regardless. Even if you think that you don't, you'll have more options available to you down the road. So even as part of this, even if you think you don't qualify, even if you're just asking about changes in merit scholarship status, we still would encourage you to do the FAFSA anyway. But merit scholarships are done within, as we talked about earlier on, they're done within the Office of Undergraduate Admission. If you have received a financial aid package, we encourage you to use that form and note that in your appeal. If you have not received a financial aid package, reach out to admission, specifically your admission counselor. Those folks are going to re-review your application. Is there something that a very common thing is you've had updated grades since you first applied? We would want to know that because you may automatically qualify for something just from that information alone. Did you have a major life achievement, such as you started in a show, very Emerson specific, you won an award, whether it's from Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, you obtained a new status or a new level. Those would be important information that has changed since your application. Whether if you have received a financial aid package, do it there in the appeal form. If you haven't or are ineligible to get a financial aid package, reach out to admission. That's your next step. Eric, do you want to talk a little bit more about what may be required as part of a financial aid appeal?
Sure. I was enjoying you talking about that because you've clearly sat through so many of my presentations.
I've done a few of these. To Eric's credit,
Uh,
I've done a few.
yeah, once we receive your financial aid appeal, we'll review which options you've selected, what you've told us in your explanation for the appeal, and we may require updated tax information. Everything is based on 2024 at this point, so we may ask you for 2025 tax information. If the loss is happening now or and happens in the next month or so, we may ask you for projected income information to tell us about what's already occurred this year and what will be happening moving forward. So definitely go ahead, fill out the form, let us know the explanation of why you're filling it out, and we will get back to you. We'll put some additional requirements on your financial aid checklist if we believe that this will actually impact your financial aid package.
An important note also is this doesn't stop after you start at Emerson. If you have had a change in circumstances, some families have had a change in circumstances in their senior year. You still want to reach out to that financial aid office and talk to them about next steps because, yes, it is based off of 2024 tax information, but this is the class of 2030, and a lot could change between now and then. So the financial aid office is also available to you during your entire 4 years if another circumstances change down the road.
A couple of clarifications based on all of that information. If someone hasn't yet filed their FAFSA, the deadline for early action, early decision has technically gone by, but what should folks do in that instance?
Still submit it. Keep going. We'll keep going to the regular decision deadline. If you've extenuating circumstances, just talk to us. We'll keep working with you, but try to get it in by the regular decision deadline, so we can get you an aid package right away. The later your FAFSA is received, the longer it's going to take to get you a financial aid package. So we'd like to get you that as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And we talked about the grants and other need-based aid earlier, so I just wanted to ask the companion question, which is, are merit scholarships guaranteed for all 4 years? Justin, do you maybe want to tackle that quickly?
They are with an asterisk. And Eric mentioned this earlier. There are terms and conditions with scholarships that you still have to maintain. Specifically, that honors trustee scholarship has a higher GPA, both within the program and at the college. The terms and conditions of your scholarship are listed both online and in the admission portal. But they are assuming you maintain, for example, a 3.0 GPA. That's a pretty common one. If you maintain that, you will maintain, which is a B average on a 4.0 scale. If you maintain that average, you will have it for all 4 years. There are little caveats associated with should you take a leave of absence. There are some counseling that we would have to do as part of that. But generally speaking, yes, it is for all 4 years.
Great. And then if folks do file an appeal, about how long should they expect before they hear back about that?
So, Eric was mentioning it depends. And the reason for it is it really depends on what your appeal is. Generally speaking, we try and have a 2 week turnaround. We just started looking at them. So we were taking them in over the winter break, but we just started reviewing them in the last week or so. Generally speaking, we try and have our first assessment done within about a week, and then we try and get some kind of answer to you within 2 weeks. If it is requiring, to what Eric was talking about, some of those additional documents, such as tax returns or a change in job status, we might need a letter, whatever those documents are required, to some extent that might take longer because you need to also give that documentation to the financial aid office. So generally speaking, if we have all the requisite information, it can be much faster. But if we require additional documents, that will just add to the amount of time because we do require these, especially for changes to your student aid index with the FAFSA. We do require those documents. So it can take a little bit longer depending on those documents. But generally speaking, our benchmark is 2 weeks.
Excellent. Thank you. Received a lot of questions about this one, about how kind of external scholarships factor into um, aid determinations. Can one of you talk about that?
Sure. Um, while we strongly encourage students to apply for private scholarships, um, if there isn't much unmet need left, and that is the cost of attendance minus the student aid index, minus grants and scholarships. So if there isn't much unmet need, also that includes a subsidized loan too. Should have included that. If there's not much unmet need left after that, we may have to start adjusting the financial aid. We would start off, if need be, take away the federal work study because we'd rather you have the guaranteed funding as opposed to having to work to earn. You can still work on campus using Emerson employment, which it doesn't impact your financial need. After work study, we would then try to adjust your loans and let's reduce your loan debt because you're receiving private scholarships and don't need as much loan funding. Um, Once we've exhausted all of that, there very well could be an adjustment to the Emerson grant, but we will absolutely try to minimize that as much as possible while still trying to take away from the self-help aid first. So again, work study and loans would be adjusted first.
Great, thank you. We also have a question about the Parent Plus loan specifically. I know there are some folks who may be interested in that. Can you clarify how folks go about applying for that? Wondering if it's through Emerson, through another lender, if it's not referenced on their financial aid officer, does that mean they're not offer? Does that mean they're not eligible? Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Becky, you want to take it or you want me to take it?
Yeah, sure. So kind of what Eric alluded to when he was looking at when he was doing the comparison, the Parent Plus loan is something that you apply for separately. So if you don't see it on your financial aid package right now, doesn't mean you're not eligible for it. You would apply for the Parent Plus loan through the same site that you do the FAFSA, so studentaid.gov. You'd apply through there. It does do a credit check. So it is a federally owned loan. So that's kind of what makes it a little bit different from a private loan. It's not us taking it out. You'd be taking out a federal loan for that. And then there's based on your credit history, they will either approve your loan or they will deny it. You can try an endorser, or if you are denied, your student can potentially get up to $4,000 more in unsubsidized loan.
Keep in mind, right now is too early to apply for the Parent Plus loan. Your
Yep.
credit will expire and will need to be rerun again. You'll have to reapply again as it gets closer. So generally, you wouldn't start doing that until around May. You would apply via studentaid.gov, the same place that you did the FAFSA. Parents, you would be the one to log in with your FSA ID and password to apply for this. You have your own user ID and password. The student has their own. So when applying for a Parent Plus loan, you would enter your information.
This is a loan out for it's in the parent's name. It is not in the student's name. So any responsibilities lie on the parent when taking that out. Doesn't mean that you can't make your kid pay it back, but it's out in your name. It's your credit check.
That is a very good point. Whatever arrangements parent and student make together about repayment, that is between the two of you, the three of you, four of you, however many of you are taking out the loans. That is between you and the student.
I think that actually raises a great point that has kind of come up in many of the questions we've received tonight is that this is an ongoing conversation that student and whoever their support system is should definitely be having about what this means for you as a student, what this means for you as a family, and making sure you talk through all those options. We're always here to help with some of the information regarding those options, but definitely make sure that you're having those conversations as you make your college related decisions. We had a couple questions come in that were pre-submitted that I want to make sure to tackle. One was about folks who maybe had already corrected a FAFSA. If they had done that already with some information, did we use that information to come up with their financial aid package? What do they need to do, if anything?
So if your corrections were done in the last week, maybe week and a half, and you just received your financial aid package yesterday or today, there is a chance it's not off the most recent FAFSA. Please just reach out, let us know, check in with us. If those corrections were made prior to a week and a half ago, absolutely, we use the most recent FAFSA to determine your financial aid eligibility. If there's some question about that, you can absolutely reach out to us. You can send us an email, you can give us a call. One thing we have not mentioned is starting today, if you have a financial aid package, you should see on the admission portal, you'll have the ability to sign up for appointments with your aid officers via Zoom or phone. The appointments will open up for next week and beyond. So you'll absolutely be able to do that. And then in a few moments, we'll talk about some other options we have for meeting with us as well. I'm just going to switch over the slide. We can still take a few more questions, but I'm going to switch to the contact information for a minute so you have our contact info.
Yes, absolutely. I was actually just going to mention that, and there are a couple questions just of folks who arrived late. We are certainly recording this. You'll be getting an email with this recording, and we'll post it to our YouTube channel once I get through all of the edits. So if you missed anything, I definitely encourage you to go back and watch quickly. One other thing that we kind of talked about at the beginning was, which might be on the next slide, Eric, is we do have a great opportunity among many, but one especially great opportunity for you to visit campus, chat with some of us in person, and get to see some of the wonderful things and people that are around our campus. So if you haven't yet signed up for our Picture Yourself at Emerson day, the first one is on Saturday, February 21st. The link is there, but actually, students, the easiest way to do that is to register right through your portal. It's linked right in there for you. You don't have to remember anything or copy anything down. You can just go ahead and click that link in your portal to register. We did have one question, which is if there is an additional date. If you can't make February, there will be an additional date in April. Once registration is open for that date, we will definitely post that for folks to let them know.
Going along with that, if I can add, there will be financial aid appointments at the Picture Yourself event. All of our aid officers will be there in person, doing in-person appointments. We'll give you the opportunity to sign up in advance for that. Also, same-day walk-in appointments. You happen to be walking around, you have some questions, I want to come visit us. There'll also be a financial aid presentation, actually two of them being presented throughout the day. You can stop by one of those as well. So we'll be giving a very similar presentation to this. So if you haven't replayed it enough, once Adriana sends it out and you want to see it again, but this time live, you can absolutely do that.
Yes, we are all so wonderful that I know you'll want to watch it again anyway, but there's definitely some great information in there if you did happen to maybe join us a little bit later. And then, of course, you're always just welcome to reach out to us if you have questions. Book that appointment with your financial aid officer. You can also certainly schedule a time to chat with your admission counselor if you'd like to chat more admission related things. We're all certainly available to you. Best way to reach us are those email addresses that you see on screen now, which are finaid@emerson.edu or admission@emerson.edu for the admission office. Eric, there's been a few questions about this. Would you mind going back over the difference between what folks are seeing in terms of it saying an estimated financial aid award and under what circumstances and when they would see a final financial aid award?
Justin, do you want to start the conversation about estimated, and then I will jump in?
Yeah, so, and Eric mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just to clarify, we are estimating the cost of attendance for next year. We don't, it requires our board of trustees to actually vote on it. So we are estimating it at this point, but we don't have an official cost of attendance. We don't have the official tuition fee and food and housing rate for next year. That's why we're estimating, especially the cost of attendance. Once that is finalized by our board of trustees, then we essentially let everyone know here's the finalized rates for next year. But right now we're estimating them. It could potentially be the same. It could be a little bit lower. We're not sure yet, so we just put estimated there. And then Eric, if you want to talk about a little bit about what might potentially change, but it's pretty rare.
If the estimated cost of attendance goes down, there is a chance the financial aid correlation, the decrease in financial aid, would be about the same. Again, it would be dollar for dollar. If tuition goes down and there's no room for the unmet need, that we may have to reduce some things along the way. But again, the cost itself is going down, so that's why the financial aid is being adjusted again, dollar for dollar. So we're going to do our best to minimize any changes to financial aid, but we do want everyone to know, again, the cost of attendance information is very estimated at this time.
Excellent. If anyone does have final questions, we would love for you to add those to the Q&A box at this time. Forgive my ignorance, I totally missed this. Did you all mention when that cost of attendance will be finalized?
The last I heard, it'll be in March. I don't have the exact date on hand, but that's Eric, I thought it was towards the
It's
end
in
of
March. I
March.
do know it's in
Yeah.
March. And once we have official numbers, lots of things are going to happen. We're going to update our website with the numbers. We're going to send out notifications to families, letting them know if their financial aid package has been updated and to go look online at the admission portal to see their updated financial aid package. So we're going to be communicating with you throughout this entire time to let you know once all this information is there.
Yes, we will definitely not leave you out in the dark. When we know things, we will let you know things. Absolutely. Great tip that I always give people is if I could have one wish in the entire world, it would be that everyone always checks their email. That is how we best communicate with you and let you know that there may be an update to information. So if you can make sure just to keep an eye on your email, that would be the best way. If you think you might have missed something, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to update you. Last couple of questions here. Um, if you're looking for that current estimate, you'll want to take a look at the financial aid package that is posted in the students portal. If you don't have one just yet, maybe double check and make sure we're not requesting some additional documents. Make sure we received the FAFSA. But it should be available right in the same letter as the rest of the financial aid information. I think like towards the bottom would be the overall estimated cost of attendance. Do you want to just address again as well? We know that the URL for the private scholarships, if you try and click it now, might say that you don't have access. Eric, if I'm correctly remembering, that is something that folks will have access to a bit later.
The Emerson website itself you can get to. The iGrad link, the students can get to iGrad. They can see a general list of the scholarships, but to actually get the URL to apply for those scholarships, they won't gain access to until they receive an Emerson email address after they deposit. And then they can start applying to those individual scholarships via iGrad.
Excellent. And I think looks like we're kind of wrapping up here. Maybe one last question. Is there a particular deadline to submit additional information as part of an appeal? And when should folks maybe start doing that?
As soon as possible. Earlier the better. To be honest, we've had people do appeals on like April 30th for the May 1st National Signing Day. It is a little difficult to get that stuff in and get you an answer within, 12 hours or so. But the earlier the better. If you do have any questions about what may be required, you can always talk to the admissions office as their first stop. If you have more questions about changes in status, changes in financial circumstances, help with the FAFSA, help with any type of corrections, please reach out to the financial aid office below and they'll walk you through that. But the first step, re-review your financial aid package, use that admission portal. That'll be the first step to kind of get the ball rolling. But in terms of if there are additional documents, if there's additional grades from your high school, the sooner the better because It does get a little busy towards the end of April, and procrastination is not a good thing in this world. Just do it as soon as you can.
And I do want to reiterate, those email addresses you see on the screen right now, please, please do not hesitate to email us. We try to get back to you as soon as we can, with as much information as we can give, but if you can give crystal clear questions, that'll help us to be able to navigate you down the right path. But we are in the office. Come chat with us, email us, call us. We're here to help you with your questions. This is like your child's first big financial extravagance, and we want to help make sure this is not a horrible experience for you.
I think that's maybe the minimum bar is definitely not horrible. We're going to try and make it as positive an
Amazing.
experience as we can for you. I do want to clarify one thing just before we wrap things up. For early decision students, your deadline is likely before May 1st, just because we've been saying May 1st a lot. So the best way to know what your deadline is to look at your acceptance letter in your portal. That will tell you exactly when your deadline is, and that's when you should plan to hopefully accept your offer of admission and submit that deposit. So just wanted to clarify that. All right. Thank you to everyone who's on screen for participating tonight. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. We really appreciate having you here and hope the information has been helpful. As a reminder, definitely make sure to be in touch with us. Make sure to sign up for that Picture Yourself at Emerson event. If you're able to join us, we would love to have you here on campus. We will certainly be sending you more information about that event, the upcoming Picture Yourself, any future webinars and opportunities to connect with us. So keep an eye on those emails, and we look forward to chatting with you and seeing with you soon. Thanks so much, everyone.